on the 8th of April 2020. A 15-member team of Chinese medical personnel arrived in the country to share their experiences in fighting COVID-19 pandemic and were received at the Nnamdi International Airport, Abuja, by some government officials, including the Minister of Health. Aware also that the decision to bring in Chinese medical personnel into the country to help the fight against COVID-19 by federal government sparked a lot of controversies from some Nigerians who kicked against the decision, saying that the country has The Right Honorable Speaker insisted that the medical team must undergo the necessary checks as provided by the NCDC and also go on 14 days isolation before any interface with Nigerians. Further aware that the team arrived in Nigeria on the 8th of April 2020 with a confirmed press statement by the Minister of Health. Concerned that contrary to the earlier statement of the Minister of Health on the 14th of May 2020, in a new twist, reportedly told news reporters not to bother his ministry over the whereabouts of the Chinese medical experts who came into Nigeria to support the fight against COVID-19. While responding to questions at the daily Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, the Minister of Health said the medical personnel are not guests of the federal government, but CCECC, a construction company. The minister went further to say that I want to explain that first of all, I think not all of them are doctors. And I heard that some of them are technicians, but they are staff of CCECC. The Ministry of Health is not their host, so we cannot always explain what happened to them or their whereabouts. The Minister of Health also noted that there seems to be a lot of interest in the doctors, but they are staff of a company. I'll be very happy if you do not ask me where they are. And further said, as they are unaware of the location of the 15 Chinese nationals who recently came into the country. Notes that following complaints of concerned Nigerian citizens, it is incumbent on us to duly investigate this issue, as it is our duty as lawmakers and as representatives of our constituents. And not only that, the leadership of the House have already put its interest by confirming to Nigerians. So the House resolved to mandate the Minister of Health to give a detailed full status report of activities of the supposed Chinese medical team to the Speaker as agreed during their meeting of 7th April 2020. Mandate the National Assembly House Committee on Health Services, House Committee on Interior, House Committee on National Security and Intelligence, House Committee on Foreign Affairs to investigate the reports of the Chinese medical team, their whereabouts, and who they really are. I so submit, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Benson, on to second.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Babajimi Benson. I rise to second the motion ably moved by Honorable Bagos. I so second.
Okay, honorable colleagues, very straightforward motion. We either pass it or deny it. It's actually an investigative motion. Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable Toby.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name is Toby Okechukwu. I represent an area of Wajir River Federal Constituency from Enugu State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I come under our rules, Rule 8, under 8, Rule 4, and other reliefs of our House rules to ask that you grant me permission to move a motion on the urgent need to investigate the status of our medical and pharmaceutical research in the fight against COVID-19 and other diseases in Nigeria. Mr. Speaker, you are aware that the pandemic is affecting 200 million Nigerians, and this is of public importance and urgent. I so move.
Honorable Oga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Comrade Chinedu Oga, represent Ezza South Ikko Federal Constituency. I stand to second the motion ever moved by Honorable Toby Okechukwu. I hereby second.
Honorable Toby.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues. This motion is on the urgent need to investigate the status of medical and pharmaceutical research in the fight against COVID-19 and other diseases in Nigeria. The House notes the coronavirus pandemic and its related consequences on our people and various economies across the globe. The House further notes that out of about over 4 million confirmed coronavirus cases the world over, Nigeria has witnessed over 6,000 confirmed cases with about 191 deaths as of today. The House also notes that 472 laboratory cases of Lassa fever, including 70 deaths, were confirmed in 25 states of the Federation and the FCT between January 1 and February 9, 2020. The House recalls how the outbreak of Ebola disease brought into Nigeria by Patrick Sawyer from Liberia resulted in 19 confirmed cases of infection and 8 deaths in what is widely acclaimed as having been effectively contained. The House is worried that cholera remains a disease of public health importance in Nigeria associated with high morbidity and mortality. The House is aware of the various efforts by the World Health Organization and the world economies to curtail the effects of these diseases, and the recent declaration by Madagascar that it had found the cure for COVID-19. The House is further aware of the disclosure by the Governor Central Bank of Nigeria reported in this day, May 11, 2020, that the bank is developing a framework for provide support to aid the fight against coronavirus disease in Nigeria. The House is further aware of the need for a methodical approach by the federal government in providing effective coordination, supervision mandate, and funding for intense medical research for cures of the diseases and for local production of essential medical supplies used in the fight against the disease in the country. The House is aware that the drugs for today's societies are products of intense medical research by individual scientists and major pharmaceutical companies. The House is alarmed by the revelation by the Director General, National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, published in Vanguard May 14, 2020, that the agency has received only one application for approval of a product for the treatment of symptoms of COVID-19 and not cure of the disease, a situation that would be different but for lack of coordinated government effort and funding for medical research. The House is concerned that while countries are overwhelmed and occupied with their challenges, Nigeria appears to depend entirely on external interventions in the health sector for our economy. The House is conscious that Nigeria is endowed with qualified and talented scientists who are capable of developing indigenous cures for the disease. The House is mindful of the need for a homegrown approach in dealing with the threat and spread of these diseases. The House is also cognizant of the need for government action in assembling and mandating medical researchers towards developing indigenous solutions for our healthcare needs. The House resolves: 1, to mandate the House Committee on Healthcare Services to investigate the extent of government coordination, supervision, mandate, and funding for medical research in the fight against coronavirus pandemic and other diseases in Nigeria. The House finally resolves to mandate the committee to make appropriate remedial and sustainable recommendations for the health sector and report back to the House within 3 weeks. I so move.
Okay, we'll go again. The second.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Honorable Comrade Chinedu Oga, representing the good people of Ezza South Igbo Federal Constituency and from Ebonyi State. I stand to second the motion able moved by Honorable Tobi Okechukwu. I hereby second.
Honorable colleagues, this is a very straightforward motion. I think it deals with the search for indigenous medicine to treat COVID-19. Somebody had an amendment. What was your amendment, Honorable Oga?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment on this motion is that most of all these patients that have been affected by this pandemic, we are only hearing about the figures in different states. The amendment is that there should be an investigation of the particular work that NCDC are doing. How many of them are able to see a particular patient in a state? Because it's only the casual doctors and nurses in various states are those that are care about the patient, that they should investigate to know the proper people that are taking care of the patient in the various states.
Please second Honorable Oga's amendment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My name is Onofio Luke, 18 and Seribum Surubium Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I support and second the amendment as proposed by Honorable Chinedu Oga.
Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. I believe the whip has an amendment. Is there another amendment anywhere? Honorable Toby, somebody had mentioned that we do have a COVID-19 committee that we set up, and that maybe that will be the proper committee, since we set it up, ad hoc committee on COVID, to look into this matter. So can somebody move that amendment? Honorable Kiruka.
Kiruka Onyejocha, member representing Isukwatu Munoj Federal Constituency. I am from Abia State. I rise to propose an amendment that the motion as moved by Deputy Minority Leader be sent to the Committee on COVID-19. I so move.
Honorable Koko.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Honorable Sheo Koko. I represent the good people of Koko, Bese, and Moyema Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I'm from Kebbi State. Speaker, sir, I rise to second the amendment heavily moved by the Deputy Chief Whip. I shall second, Mr. Speaker.
Those in support of the amendment, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. Amendment, hold on.
Finish your call.
Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. Amended. Please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it.
Honorable Veteran, Chairman Appropriation.
Honorable, I think Honorable Sununu has a very important motion. Honorable Sununu. Don't take it.
Mr. Speaker and Saraki Auri, I rise. I'm Honorable Dr. Yusuf Tanko Sununu, member representing Ingaski, Shanghai Auri Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Kebbi State. I rise to request the honor of this House to suspend the relevant rules allowed me come under Order 8, Rule 4, to present a motion of urgent public importance calling on the federal government to ensure protection of healthcare personnel in the midst of a COVID-19 pandemic and to ensure payment of outstanding salaries of federal capital territory health workers. Thank you.
Honorable Adejari. Okay, Honorable Naraba, please second.
Oh, sorry. Mr. Speaker, respected colleagues, my name is Honorable Abubakar Hassan Nalaraba, representing the good people of Awedo Makiana Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I am from Nasarawa State. I rise to second the motion ably moved by Dr. Sununu. I so second.
Honorable Sununu, move your motion.
Mr. Speaker, I'm standing in on behalf of Honorable Dr. Samuel Babatunde Adejare, Honorable Pascal Obi, and Honorable Martins Oke to present a motion of urgent public importance calling on federal government to ensure protection of healthcare personnel in the midst of corona pandemic and to ensure payment of outstanding salaries of federal capital territory health workers. Mr. Speaker, sir, the House notes that COVID-19 pandemic has proved to be the greatest challenge to human existence globally. Currently, the spread of infection is not only alarming, but also the mortality world over has never been anticipated. Coupled to that, world economy and social relations are almost grounded. This has negatively affected global access to healthcare services, resulting in increased death from other causes, further compounding the fight against COVID-19 pandemic. Globally, over 4,425,485 cases, people were affected with 302,059 deaths as at 16th of May 2020. This made the World Health Organization to call on nations with weak health systems to prepare for a very shocking experiences. Currently, community transmission in Nigeria is not in doubt. However, the rate of infection among healthcare providers is not only alarming, but capable of retarding the success so far recorded. The House worried that no country can be at war and be comfortable that its foot soldiers are being threatened by enemies, and so the need for concerted effort to protect the fighting forces cannot be overemphasized. So far, over 160 healthcare professionals nationwide are infected, with many deaths recorded. As it is today, the patients are afraid of going to hospital because of the fear of acquiring the infection from healthcare providers. So also healthcare providers are scared of interacting with patients due to poor access to personal protective equipment by healthcare providers. To further compound matters, irregularities of salary payment, consequent poor implementation of RPPIS enrollment in federal capital territory. There was a notice of commencement of indefinite strike by the federal capital territory health workers with threat to withdraw all their members from the isolation camp and to commence indefinite strike on the 28th of this month. Cognizant of the sacrifices being made by healthcare providers in the fight against COVID-19, the House, through Mr. Speaker, intervened on the 17th and 20th of March that made the resident doctors suspend their week-long strike before the commencement of lockdown. Further cognizant of the negative impact of the strike, not only on the fight against COVID-19, but on the overall healthcare delivery, and in the spirit of the fact that a laborer deserves his wages, it becomes inevitable for the House to further act. Worried that in the initial intervention, only consequential adjustment of House officers' salary was achieved. The House viewed the failure of RPPIS to adjust correctly the Federal Capital Territory administration staff salaries as unacceptable, and most especially the wages of forces working day by day to combat COVID-19 infection in the country. To further make matters worse is for the properly appointed staff in the Federal Capital Territory administration to stay for 5 to 7 months after assuming office and regularly reporting to duties without receiving a penny as his or her wages. The morale of such professionals to serve as a frontline staff in ongoing fight against COVID-19 is better imagined. The House therefore resolved to direct Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 to urgently procure personal protective equipment for distribution to hospitals. 2, in addition, to also use the House of Representatives contribution to procure personal protective equipment for distribution to public hospitals in order to protect our healthcare providers. 3rd, the House also direct Federal Ministry of Finance, RPPIS, to rectify all anomalies associated with the payment of Federal Capital Territory staff and to ensure payment of accumulated salary with immediate effect. Also, the House commended the Federal Capital Territory health workers, healthcare providers, and urged them to further continue with their commendable sacrifices as House continue to intervene. The House also resolved that the leadership should convene an emergency meeting tomorrow with Federal Capital Territory Minister, Minister of Finance, DG Budget of the Federation, and RPPSL official tomorrow to immediately rectify all the anomalies. And finally, direct the House Committee on Healthcare Services and Health Institutions to ensure compliance. Mr. Speaker, I so moved.
Honorable Abejide.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Leke Abejide, member representing the good people of the Agwafera constituency. I am from Kogi State. I rise to second the motion ably moved by Honorable Tanko Sununu. I so second.
Honorable colleagues, I'm constrained to mention, to just say a thing about Honorable Sununu's motion. It's two motions in one. One is, he talks about, and I think it's for emphasis sake, that our health workers in the regular hospitals have nothing to protect themselves. We've all been talking about those in the isolation centers. But before you get to the isolation center, you must get to a hospital first. And a lot of them have been affected by COVID-19, and they don't have masks, they don't have protective gears, and your motion is to make sure that this is done. And second, and almost more important, if not just as important, if not more important, is that the FCT health workers have threatened to go on strike on the 28th of May. The reason being that they have not been paid their salaries since January. We're talking about 5 months. It's almost embarrassing to sit here and be talking about health workers not having been paid their salaries since January. And they have threatened to go on strike on the 28th of March. Of May, I'm sorry. They had earlier threatened to go on strike. Luckily, the leadership was able to, and the House of Representatives was able to ward that off. That's why I said it's embarrassing that the promises that were made at that time have not been kept. And it's important that we take this very, very serious. That's why I thought it was a matter of urgent public importance. Because we all know the dire consequences come 28th of May. If the health workers, the nurses, and all of them down their tools, this is a very inauspicious time for anybody to do that. But you can only appeal to people, for so long. They have families as well. So it's important, and I think it's because of this IPPIS system why they're finding it difficult to pay them. So as you rightly said, we'll invite the minister, the FCT minister, and the Minister of Health, Minister of Health and Finance to a very crucial meeting tomorrow. So we'll just put the question. I just needed to underscore what he has said. Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable colleagues, we have so many motions of urgent public importance, and I need to explain this again. I think the reason why our rules only allow for 2 motions a day, and if we are constrained to take, if we are stretched to take 3, we ask for suspension of the rules. But because of the times we're in, and because we only sit once a day, once a week, there's so many important motions that each Tuesday we have about 10, 11, 8, 9, and by the time we go through all of that, the day is fast spent. We haven't even gotten to the order paper yet. So members will have to please understand that some of these motions we may not even have time to take them. Today I have about 10 before we even get to the order paper. So some will have to move to subsequent weeks. And that's why we're not debating many of these motions because of time constraint. And it has been said by medical experts that the longer you stay in an enclosed space, the more vulnerable you are. And that's why, we're trying to move rapidly. And we said we will not be here for more than 2 hours on any Tuesday until the situation, gets better. So just bear with us. and we'll move speedily along. Honorable Gagdi.
Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I'm Honorable Yusuf Gagdi. I represent Panshinkanke Kanam Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Plateau State. Mr. Speaker, I rise as usual to request for the kind gesture of this House to suspend all relevant sections of our House rule in order to allow me come under matter of urgent public importance portion to Order 8 Rule 4 of the Standing Order of this House to present a motion on the need to investigate some of the recklessness of security operatives on internal peace mission across the country as it affects my constituents and the people of Plateau, where you have the shooting of one young man today and tomorrow the shooting of another. It is quite important, Mr. Speaker, because it is becoming an unbecoming.
Yeah, Honorable Gagdi, I think because you've started, we will allow you to conclude. But I think it is the resolution of this House that every motion or any motion, and several members have brought motions about their constituencies, about shooting and killings by security agencies, so that we don't waste time, because after you, somebody from Benue, somebody from Lagos, somebody from other states will come, and that will constitute. So we had a motion here that was moved by Honorable Nkiruka. She had a motion on Abia State, and we got to that, she changed it to cover the whole country. Because what you're saying in your constituency, Honorable Gagdi, is replicated in every constituency in Nigeria. And so one motion that took care of every local government or constituency has already been moved, but we will, for the sake of all other members, we already have a motion that has addressed the issue of the security agencies and what they're doing throughout the length and breadth of Nigeria. Just to refresh our memory. Honorable Gagdi, please conclude your motion.
I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Very good, well done. Honorable Rurum.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Kabir Alas Rurum. I represent Rano Bunkura Chibi Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Kano. I rise to support the motion as moved by Honorable Ugargi, as so second.
So I'm assuming the motion has been moved. Those in support of these terrible actions in Honorable Gagdi's constituency in Plateau State, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable Umana.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Anik Umana, representing the unique people of Abak, the Tumebika Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Upper Ibom State. Mr. Speaker, I come under Order 824 to pay the indulgence of Mr. Speaker and the Honorable House. There's a need to move a motion of urgent public importance on the need to introduce online education and e-learning system into the Nigerian educational system.
On a what? Sorry, repeat that. On a bill to be introduced. Oh, need, okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, I think the mask is inhibiting clarity of sound and voice. And I need to introduce online education and e-learning system into Nigerian educational curriculum in view of the altercation noticed as a result of COVID-19 in our educational system. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Please second.
Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Abdurazak Namdas. I represent the people of Genye, Jaja, Tongoma, Rebelwa. I am from Adamawa State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion ably moved by my colleague. I so second.
Honorable Mana, please move your motion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the House notes that the outbreak of the coronavirus, otherwise known as COVID-19, has altered the educational calendar globally. According to UNESCO, most governments around the world have temporarily closed schools in an attempt to contain the spread of the virus. These nationwide closures are impacting over 72% of the world's student population. This has brought significant setback to the academic endeavors with far-reaching impact on the more vulnerable and disadvantaged countries in the developing world, such as Nigeria. The House further notes, Mr. Speaker, that COVID-19 has induced school closures and has kept over 1.2 billion children out of classrooms. As a result, education has changed dramatically, with the distinctive increase in the use of e-learning and online educational systems, whereby teaching is undertaken remotely and on digital platforms. This sudden event has caused a shift from the classrooms in our nation's schools and global schools. Teachers and students have been forced to adjust and adapt to the unplanned and rapid move to online teaching and learning, with no structure, particularly in our country, training and equipment, and we are faced with inadequate preparations. The e-learning approach takes time and is a gradual system of learning, particularly in the developing world. Schools and colleges have to develop a modular structure, database, learning pattern, supported with efficient communication and internet backbone to ensure this works. Mr. Speaker, aware that the federal government, through the Federal Ministry of Education, announced recently a free e-learning portal intended to create access to online education across the nation, as well as radio and television classrooms. But, Mr. Speaker, this has remained in tensions, as reports indicate that this is not working and that it is not serving the desired need of closing the educational gaps due to the lack of instructional design and implementation mechanics and lack of cognitive psychological tools that would support e-learning in our country. Mr. Speaker, we're worried that Nigeria's low rural internet penetration and lack of preparedness for the e-learning system, lack of online educational curricula, and unaffordability of the necessary learning gadgets such as computers, tablets, and necessary tools, and low knowledge and skill set presents a huge challenge for us as a nation, and which may cause a major setback for the educational system and the students in the educational calendar. Faced with this present situation, Nigeria's educational system is lagging behind by not being functionally awake to the present reality of online education. Research shows that the level of online learning and preparedness in Nigeria is about only 10% or below. Hence, the need to salvage our already battered educational system that has further been humbled and bruised by the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Speaker, in view of all this and the attendant problems, the House resolves to urge the Federal Ministry of Education to urgently develop a national policy framework for online education for our schools at various levels. Secondly, urge educational regulatory bodies across the nation to incorporate online education and modular system into our educational curriculum in schools across the country. And finally, urge the House Committee on Basic Education, House Committee on Tertiary Education, and other relevant committees to ensure compliance. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My name is Blessing Onyeche Onu, and I represent the good people of Otukpo Ohimini Federal Constituency. I am from Benue State. I rise to second the motion moved by my honorable colleague. I so second.
Say aye. Those against it say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable Thomas, move your motion. This is the sixth motion of urgent public importance we're about to vote. Sixth. And I'm assuming that we suspended our rules to allow us to do this. Please move your motion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my name is Chief Thomas Ireitomi. I represent the people of Warri South, Warri North, and Warri Southwest. I'm from Delta State. Mr. Speaker, apply to suspend all our relevant rules for me to come under Order 8 through 4 to move the matters of urgent public importance on the need for the House to intervene on the termination of over 300 workers in Warri Federal Constituency. I so move.
Any seconder for the... Who's that behind you? Oh, is that Dr. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name's Honorable Gideon Kitila Goraki, member representing Gwib Shalom Federal Constituency from Adamawa State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second motion, ably moved by Honorable Thomas. I so second, sir.
Honorable Thomas, very quickly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The urgent need for the House to intervene on the termination of employment of over 300 casual staff of Warri refineries and petrochemical companies. The House notes that in the heat of this COVID-19 epidemic that is ravaging Nigeria and the world at large, management of Warri refinery, petrochemical company, have gone ahead to sack over 300 workers of the casual staff of the refinery, in spite of the federal government directive that no government agency or private establishment should sack or lay off its staff. Aware that all the affected persons are indigenes of the communities where the refinery is located, which is made up of Ishekiris and the Robo communities. Recall that sometimes in July 2019, Honorable Benny Bapa presented a petition to this House on behalf of the host community seeking, among other things, the casualizations of employment status of indigenous workers in Warri refineries and petrochemical communities. Note that Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation, without respect for the House or the public petition, went ahead to recruit 1,050 graduates training against the resolution and recommendation of the committee. Observe that the recruitment did not reflect the principle of fairness as entrenched in Section 28(2) of the Nigeria Oil and Gas Industry Content Act, which provided entirely that the board shall, that the operators or project promotes maintain a reasonable numbers of personnel from the area it has a significant operation. Further note that while the casualization status of the workers and the non-concession to the host community in the recent recruitment of graduate trainees is a matter before the House Committees on Public Petition, the management of Warri Refinery and Petrochemical has gone ahead to lay over 300 indigenous staff against the clear and unambiguous directive of the federal government that no workers should be dropped or sacked at these precarious times that the country is passing through. Worried that if the House does not step in immediately to arrest the situation, there may be likely be a breakdown of law and order, interruptions of a smooth operation of the Warri Refinery and Petrochemical Company.
That the House resolved to direct that Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) and the management of Warri Refinery Petrochemical Company to reinstate the over 300 affected persons by the action pending the investigation of the House Committees on Public Petition. 2, mandate the House Committee on Petroleum Downstream to carry out a forensic investigation into the recent recruitment of graduate trainees by the Nigeria Petroleum Corporation Company with a view to determine how many persons were recruited from the various host communities. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Honestly, I don't know. Yeah. Can you second, please? Go ahead. Go ahead. Remove your mask so I know who you are. Go ahead. No. Is that the okay.
Mr. Speaker, I am Honorable Dederi, representing Kara Rogo Federal Constituency. I'm from Kano State, sir. I rise to second the motion ably moved by my honorable colleague here. I so second. Thank you, sir.
Amendment? What's the amendment? Honorable Smiler.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My dear honorable colleagues, I am Honorable Suleiman Samaila. I represent the very good people of Kaduna North Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, this is exactly what is happening in Kaduna Refining and Petrochemical Company. They have last week laid off about 175 staff of the company. So I would want to suggest that the resolution should carry Warri Refinery and Kaduna Refining and Petrochemical Company. I so suggest. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
One second, what?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Yusuf Bubayakub. I represent Gombe Home Federal Constituency from Adamawa State. I rise to second the amendment moved by my honorable colleague. I so second.
Those in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor of the motion as amended, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Woodil, I believe you have a motion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My name is Right Honorable Engineer Muhammad Ali Woodil. I represent the people of Woodil, Garko Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Kano State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move this motion as a matter of urgent public importance under Order 8, Rule 4. And the motion is need to investigate the Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trading Company, MBET, activities from 2015 to date. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Any seconder? Princess, can you second? This is your motion too. I think you're both there.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Princess Miriam Onoha. I represent Isialambono, Onimo, Okigwe Federal Constituency of Imo State. I rise to second the motion as ably moved by Honorable Woodil. I so second.
Honorable Woodil, please move your motion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a very simple motion. It's an investigative motion, Mr. Speaker. The House note that in line with the provision of the standing orders of the House of Representatives, the Committee on Power is saddled with the responsibility of carrying out oversight on the Ministry of Power and its agency, including Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trading Company, MVET. Aware that the Committee on Power is in receipt of complaints against Nigerian Bulk Trading Company, MVET, since inception of the agency. Also aware that several anti-corruption agencies, among which are the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, the Independent Corrupt Practice Commission, ICPC, and the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation. Also aware that the several anti-corruption agencies, among which are the Economic and Financial Crimes and all other agencies that I mentioned earlier, investigated the agency and came out with reports. Mr. Speaker, the prayer is a simple prayer. It's just to mandate the committees on power, financial crimes, and anti-corruption to investigate the activities of Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trading Company, MBED, from 2015 to 2020 and report back within 2 weeks for further legislative action. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Honorable Ali Ahmed, Nasir Ali Ahmed, can you second?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My name is Nasir Ali Ahmed. I represent Nasir Federal Constituency and I'm from Kano State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion as ably moved by my honorable colleague. I still second.
Those in support of the motion as more honorable Budil, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable colleagues, you have to bear with me. It's almost 1 o'clock and we're still on motions of urgent. I'm sure members can now understand why we don't do this. We're still on motions of urgent public importance and we cannot carry on. It's almost 2 hours we've been here and we have to go to the order paper. So, therefore, all other motions will shift to either the next sitting. Honorable members, the first business of the day is presentation of 2 bills, and I invite the clerk to read their short titles.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members. Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, Alteration Bill 2020, first reading. Nigeria Police University of Information Technology, Abeokuta, Establishment Bill 2020, first reading.
This presentation of report on the Committee on Basic Education and Services on the call for recruitment of qualified and registered teachers in Nigerian schools, standing in the name of Honorable Julius Nyobere. Honorable members will recall that the matter was referred to the committee on Wednesday, 9th October 2019. The report is now ready for presentation. Honorable Nyobere is invited to present the report.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I'm Professor Julius Nyobere, Honorable Member representing Owan Federal Constituency, Edo State. I rise to move that the House do receive the report of the Committee on Basic Education and Services on the call for recruitment of qualified and registered teachers in Nigerian schools. So, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much.
Honorable, who's that behind Honorable Johnson? Second, yes.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Sylvester Waga. I stand to second the motion as ably moved by my colleagues. So, second.
Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable Yobere, you may lay your report. Third business of the day is presentation of report on the Committee on Army on the recent attack by the Boko Haram insurgents at Ono village in Borno State. Standing in the name of Honorable Abdul Razak Saad Namdaz. Honorable members will recall that the matter was referred to the committee on Wednesday, 12 February 2020. The report is now ready for presentation. Honorable Namdaz is invited to present the report.
Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Abdurazak Namdas. I represent the people of Ganye, Jada, Tongoma, Beloa. I'm from Adamawa State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that the House do receive the report of the Committee on Army on the recent attack by Boko Haram insurgents at Auno village in Borno State. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my honorable colleagues. I am Honorable Ferdinand Dozier Wankwo, member representing the group of Injikoka and Nocha, Dunukofia Federal Constituency. I rise to second a motion heavily moved by my colleague. I thereby second.
Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable Idagwo, please can you approach the chair? Oh yeah, please lay your report. Sorry, Honorable Namdas, lay your report. Is Honorable Idagwo here? Okay. The first order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principles of a bill for an act to enact the Nigerian local content to provide for the development, regulation, and enforcement of Nigerian content in all sectors of the Nigerian economy, except the oil and gas sector, and for related matters, standing in the name of Honorable Idagbo and 6 other honorable members. Honorable members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Tuesday, 12 May 2020, and now invite Honorable Idagbo to move that the bill be read a second time.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Lego Idagbo. I represent the good people of Bekwara, Obudu, and Obanliko Federal Constituency in Cross River State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that this bill be read for a second time. I so move.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name's Honorable Haruna Michelia. I represent all the good people of Askra Overhaul Federal Constituency of Borno State. I rise to second the second reading of this bill as presented by Honorable Lego. So I so second.
Honorable Michela, that's why I was pointing to you as a second. I almost couldn't recognize you. You're wearing a suit, you don't have your cap, you're wearing a mask. Couldn't recognize you. Honorable Idagbo, you can lead the let's just put the question. It's 1 o'clock. Basically, the bill is to allow just 1 minute, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. This bill is a very straightforward one. We've recorded a lot of gains in the oil and gas sector with Nigerian content, in brackets, local content. Today, we have Nigerian companies bidding for bid rounds in other countries in the oil and gas sector. Lavin Energy, for one, just recently won the bid rounds in Benin Republic. Oilcell constructed the longest pipeline in Nigeria today, and recently they won the AKK pipeline contract, which is Ajokuta Kaduna Kano pipeline contract. So a lot has been recorded, a lot of success has been recorded in the oil and gas sector. But this success needs to be moved to every other sector of the economy. In this pandemic era, we're all aware that COVID-19 brought Nigeria to its knees. We could not even think of how to fund our budget because the revenue from the oil and gas sector was almost comatose. Today, we have an opportunity as a house to develop other sectors of the economy and to ensure that other sectors are revenue generating, that other sectors build capacity in terms of individuals and job creations. Today, Nigeria is one of the countries that the unemployment rate is so high. We need a bill that can guarantee employment for our teeming population. We also need a bill that can build capacity of our local companies. This is what this bill seeks to achieve, to build capacity of our local companies and to also ensure job creation for our teeming population. Mr. Speaker, there are a lot of sections in this bill, one of which is that before anybody seeks for a license to do anything in the Nigerian economy, the person needs to submit to the sector where you seek for that license a Nigerian content plan. That Nigerian content plan will specify how many people you need to employ, will specify what your company needs to do. And in that plan, you would seek to employ Nigerians and build capacity. that is what this bill seeks to achieve. Again, before now, Mr. Speaker, people apply for expatriate quota. Yes, when you set up a business entity, you need, in case there is no Nigerian that has the capacity to do that job, you will apply for a quota that will be approved so that an expatriate can be made to do that job. But for now, what this bill seeks to achieve is to say that if you need an expatriate to do the job that a Nigerian ordinarily ought to do, you need to show, advertise in 3 national dailies, that, and be sure that there is no Nigerian that has the capacity to do that job. Even after that application and you are given the approval to get an expatriate, Mr. Speaker, you must show that as you get that expatriate, there is a provision for transfer of technology, where you will build the capacity of a Nigerian over time to fill into the shoes of the approval you've given. Mr. Speaker, even in JVC contracts,
it's okay, it's okay.
And I
get the point. I've been doing this to you this morning. You didn't get me.
Mr. Speaker.
Your point is, you have made your point.
I just wanted to mention 2 companies.
Please, go ahead.
2 companies, for instance, the Mambila Power Plant is one of the biggest contracts that have been awarded in Nigeria. If a Nigerian content plan had been submitted for Mambila, we would have been sure of enough jobs opportunities and transfer of technology. But today, that is not happening. Dangote Refinery, today as I speak to you, Mr. Speaker, is spending $15 billion US, and there is no Nigerian content plan. Dangote is a businessman. If he has cheaper labor in any other clime, he will do that. He will get that labor, and that is what they've been doing. So this law seeks to make sure that they must patronize Nigeria in terms of labor and develop Nigerian capacity in terms of our companies. There is a 2% deduction for every contract awarded in Nigeria.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Ego, you are really into this bill. Anyway, Leader, you want a second?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues.
No. You were leading, that was, you were leading the debate. I think it's already been seconded. Let's just put the question. That was a lead debate. Yeah. So those in favor of that the bill be now read a second time, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Clerk, please read the long title.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to enact Nigerian Local Content Act to provide for the development, regulation, and enforcement of Nigerian content in all sectors of the Nigerian economy except the oil and gas sector, and for related matters. Second reading.
Bill referred to Committee on Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring. Today is commencement of the debate on the general principles of a bill for an act to amend the Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act, Cap 2, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and for related matters, standing in the name of Honorable Ochigleglo Idagwo. Honorable members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Tuesday, 12 May 2020. And I invite Honorable Idagwo to move that the bill be read a second time.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, this is a bill to amend the Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act 2010 with a view to consolidate on the gains made in the Nigerian oil and gas industry since 2010, when the act was signed into law. I move that this bill be read for a second time.
Okay. Honorable Osai, you've been quiet all day. Do you want to second this, please?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues. I remain Honorable Osai Nicholas Osai. I represent local Kwani Federal Constituency of Delta State. I rise to second the motion as moved by my honorable colleagues. I so second.
Those in support of the bill, that bill be read the second time, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Clerk, please read the long title.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for honor to amend the Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act, Chapter 2, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and for related matters. Second reading.
Bill referred to the Committee on Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring. Okay, this is Honorable Idrisu's bill. Idrisu, are you here?
Yes, I am, sir.
Okay. The third order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principle of a bill for an act to amend the National Population Commission Act, Cap N67, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 to specify the time for national population census, define the qualification for the position of the chairman and the Director General of the Commission, and to review the fine imposed for offenses in the Principal Act and for related matters, standing in the name of Honorable Lawal Idrisu. Honorable members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Tuesday, 12th of May 2020. I now invite Honorable Idrisu to move that the bill be now read a second time. Honorable Idrisu, what is today's date? What is today's date? 19th. So, I'm reading here. Honorable members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Tuesday, 12th May. How did you manage that? Your bill was read for the first time last week. And now it's already here for second reading. I guess that's experience and collections. Well done. Anybody who wants to fast track, you talk to Honorable Idris, who will show you how to do it. All right, go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, my name is Honorable Lawal Mahmoud Idrisu. I am from Ajaokuta Federal Constituency of Kogi State. Mr. Speaker, I rise for the bill for an act to amend the National Population Commission Act, Cap N67, Law of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, to specify the time for the National Population Census, define the qualification for the position of the Chairman and the Director General of the Commission, and also to review the fine imposed for the offense in the Principal Act, and for the related matters HB 166-1 to be read for the second time. I so move, sir.
Any seconder to the fast tracker? Honorable Ganiu Johnson.
Mr. Speaker, my name is Abdul Ganiu Johnson, representing the good people of Oshodi Solo, Federal Constituency 2. I rise to second the bill ably submitted by my colleague. So I so second. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Those in support of the bill be now read a second time. Please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. To read the long title of the bill.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to amend the National Population Commission Act, Chapter N67, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to specify the time for national population census, define the qualification for the position of the Chairman and Director General of the Commission, and to review the fine imposed for offenses in the Principal Act and related matters. Second reading.
Bill referred to the Committee on Population. There is a motion on need to identify on need for identification and removal of shipwrecks with hazardous substances in Nigerian coastal environment in order to protect the ecosystem. Standing in the name of Honorable Ibrahim Isiaka, Honorable Isiaka is invited to move the motion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Rep. Ibrahim Ayokunle Isaka is my name. I represent the very good people of Ifo, Ewekuru Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Ogun State. Pleased to rise this afternoon and present a motion about the need for identification and removal of shipwrecks as hazardous substances in Nigerian coastal environment in order to protect the ecosystem. The House notes that out of an estimated 3 million shipwrecks spread across ocean floors around the planet, the North Atlantic Ocean, where Nigeria waters lie, contains 25% of the potentially polluting wrecks in the world. Aware that there are over 3,000 of such in Nigerian waters from Badagry to Calabar, thus posing diverse range of threats where they are found. Depending on their sizes, location, and the nature, such a vessel and in Lagos waters, for instance, the areas that are mostly affected are the Tinkan Island, Kirikiri, Navy Town, and back portion of Badagry Creek. Concern that wrecks have been associated with many grave effects, which can have far-reaching negative impacts on the environment as they continue to rust, and some are warships used during the Second World War that carried munitions which, over the years, have become corroded to the point where they are liable to start leaking significant quantities of toxic substances. Aware that shipbuilding and ship repairs use toxic chemicals that include chromium, copper, lead, nickel, and ship cleaning activities which involve the use of chemicals that include other copper-like hazardous or flammable materials, metals and solvents. They release lead, particulate matters, volatile organic compounds, zinc, and other air pollutants, and those chemicals remain trapped in the wrecks together with the ships. The House is disturbed that the ocean contaminants are not only affecting agricultural areas, causing navigation hazards, but are also directly affecting biodiversity such as coastal wetlands, river mounts, lagoons, and natural shellfish beds. Therefore, it has become imperative that the Ecological Fund Office, being the foremost agency in the country with powers to remediate coastal ecosystem resource protection, among other mandates, to seek to enhance the resilience of coastal territorial waters in the country, Nigeria. The House resolves mandate the Ecological Fund Office to conduct an investigative hearing on environmental stressors facing coastal communities and shipwrecks in Nigeria in order to, identify the root causes and brainstorm with the Ecological Fund Office on sustainable solutions. Develop with the Ecological Fund Office strategies on environmental modifications unique for the respective communities along the coastal line in order to neutralize future stressors. Strategize with the Ecological Fund Office on mechanism and funding for removal and disposal of shipwrecks and hazardous substances across the coastal environment and ensure adaptations as response to neutralize future stressors. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
You are still here? See what I gave you? I wrote these things. Okay, where were we? Seconder. Okay, Honorable Dausa. Okay, you can second.
Right, Honorable Speaker, sir, my dear colleagues, honorable members, my name is Babangida Alasa. I represent the Ala Federal Constituency. I'm from Kano State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion ably moved by my colleague, Honorable Isaka. I so second.
Okay, amendment. I think there's an amendment from Honorable Johnson. Yes. What's your amendment?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, and my respected colleagues. I am Honorable Johnson Egwahide Oguma. I represent all the people of Isako Federal Constituency. I'm from the Heartbeat, Edo State. Mr. Speaker, my amendment to this motion, which I wholeheartedly support, is to amend the resolution under mandate. The amendment says, the House resolved to mandate committees on port, harbor, and waterways, environment, maritime safety, education, administration, because of the Marco Convention. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I so move.
You want Honorable to second the Honorable Dati, they want you to second the. You are passing it to Honorable Side. Second.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Strategic supported. I remain on the Chair Nicholas Masai. I represent the company for that constituency of Delta State. I rise to second the motion and move by my honorable colleagues as a second.
Those in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. Pass, you had an amendment to this motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Abbas Adigun. I represent Ibadan Southeast, Ibadan Northeast, Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Oyo State. My amendment is on the prayer 4. Strategize with the Ecological Fund Office and Nigerian Navy and other stakeholders on mechanism and funding for removal and disposal of the shipwrecks and hazardous substances across the coastal environment and ensure adaptation as response to the neutralized future stressors. Thank you, sir.
Okay, your neighbor can second. I can see you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Patrick Ifon, Esreket, Ibrahim Ona Federal Constituency. I'm from Akwa Ibom State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the amendment moved by my honorable colleague, and so second.
Those in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. The motion as amended, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Fifth order of the day is a motion on need for Nigeria to develop a long-term social and economic development framework vision. Henry Nwauba and one other honorable member. Honorable Nwauba is invited to move the motion.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, my dear colleagues. I remain Honorable Henry Nwauba, and I speak for the enterprising people of Mbitolu, the Keduru Federal Constituency of Imo State. I rise to move a motion on the need for Nigeria to develop a long-term social and economic development framework. The House notes that strategic economic development frameworks are integral to achieving smart, sustainable, and measurable economic growth, as well as quality human capital and infrastructural development. Also notes the significance of Nigeria's past development master plans, most recent being the just about to expire Economic Recovery Growth Plan, ERGP, and Vision 2020, in directing efforts and strategies of government towards targeted developmental objectives. Further notes the need for Nigeria to consolidate her leadership role in Africa by establishing herself as a significant player in the global economy and Africa's political arena through sustainable development and viable economic diversification. Aware that diversification of Nigeria's economy is the only viable way for the nation to survive the current global economic...
Is Honorable Ibakwa here, please? Honorable Ben Ibakwa, please approach the chair.
International oil prices declined in the nation's foreign exchange reserve from $45 billion recorded in June 2019 to $36.2 billion in March 2020, and growing concerns of post-COVID-19 global economic outlook as businesses close down across the world. Also aware that the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, were developed by the United Nations, adopted by all member states in 2015, on the expiry of the initial Millennium Development Goals, MDGs, as a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity by 2030. Concerned that Nigeria did not achieve its goal in Vision 2020, as was projected by former President Olusegun Obasanjo in the year 2000, with the aim of Nigeria to be among the first leading 20 economies in the world by this year, 2020, which was not unconnected with the lack of political will and concerted efforts towards achieving the goal. Also concerned that crude oil, which has dominated Nigeria's foreign exchange earnings, is currently undergoing price fluctuations as a result of changes in global realities and energy-efficient innovations, which pose a threat to fossil fuel in the global market space. Worried that today, Nigeria is not only far from achieving the Vision 2020 goal, but seems to have further gone down among the poverty-stricken nations of the world, even though the GDP component was almost achieved. Also worried that the novel coronavirus COVID-19, which currently ravages the world, has revealed our nation's unpreparedness to manage pandemics and progressive population, despite Nigeria's oil revenue of over $80 trillion in the last 40 years. Convinced that visions and projections are what inspired the first and second world nations like America, UK, China, and the UAE to achieve projected development goals by taking proactive steps towards building the requisite institutions which enabled massive industrialization, political and economic development in line with evolving and variable international policy models. The House resolves to, 1, urge the federal government to develop a smart 40-year strategic economic master plan and development strategy and an economic framework to implement the strategy. 2, also urge all relevant agencies of government to articulate a long-term agenda anchored on the government's long-term economic development strategy framework. 3, mandate the Committee on National Planning and Economic Development to ensure compliance. I so move.
Thank you very much.
No, Honorable Ashiru.
Oh,
Honorable Mani Ashiru.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Amin Ashur Mani is my name, representing Binda Mani. Mr. Speaker, I am from Kasana State. I rise to second the motion heavily moved by my colleague. And I so second. Thank you.
Those against you say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable colleagues, last week there was a motion for an ad hoc committee to review, or rather, to review the for the power sector reform, I believe it was. I think that was a mistake. It was meant to be ad hoc committee, which will be headed by Honorable Adodogwa as the chairman, Honorable Magaji Dao, Honorable Kabiru Rurum, Honorable Blessing Onyeche, Honorable Zachariah David Idris, Honorable Makama Misao, Honorable Abdullah Ningi, Honorable Jimmy Benson, Honorable Ben Ibakwa, Honorable Princess Miriam Onoha, Honorable Naji Prince Cornelius, Honorable Taiwo Oluga, Honorable Ifeanyi Chudi Mama. 6 order of the day is a motion on need to diversify Nigeria's economy to ensure food security in the post-COVID-19 pandemic. Starting in the name of Honorable Dozie Ferdinand Nwankwo. Honorable Nwankwo is invited to move the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues. I am Honorable Ferdinand Dozie Nwankwo, member representing the good people of Njikoka and Ocha, Njikoka Federal Constituency, and I'm from Anambra State. The House notes the estimation by the United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization and that 820 million people across the globe are already suffering from hunger. The House notes the estimation by the United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization that about 820 million people across the globe are already suffering from hunger while the dreaded COVID-19 pandemic rages. Also note that Nigeria does not have a robust food reserve
owing to the fact that the majority of the farmers still practice subsistence farming and there is inadequate availability of incentives to promote agriculture. Herdsmen crisis, post-harvest losses, and one-season practice. Aware that the ravaging COVID-19 pandemic and the attendant lockdown, there is a total disruption of supply chain in the food sector as farmers have been prevented from attending to their farming activities in both subsistence and mechanized methods. There are obvious shortage of fertilizers, insecticides, and other agricultural materials, as well as non-existent access to banks, which are to inspect their farms as prerequisite to granting agricultural loans. Concerning that the crash prices of crude oil in the international market, being Nigeria's main source of revenue, the country is faced with the reality that poor economic planning during the boom days has been a major part of national dealing, leading to urgent need to diversify into aggressive agricultural development to ensure sustainable food security after the COVID-19. There is concern that the devastation of the economy by COVID-19 pandemic has left farmers in despair, and weak market regulation that has introduced speculations and unfavorable decisions in the food production. Worried that social safety nets are not yet employed to ensure that the vulnerable in the society do not get exposed unnecessarily while scouting for food. Also worried that the collective efforts required to ensure the synergy to promote and sustain the resilient food system is still not in place, thus creating a huge gap that will adversely affect the post-COVID-19 pandemic era. Cognizant of the need to promote safety guidelines to prevent zoonotic disease that can cause new outbreak, just as world bodies like FAO, IMF, and World Bank should make countries not to impose serious trade protectionist policies that will not favor disadvantaged nations. They have resolved to urge the President Muhammad Buhari to declare a state of emergency in the agricultural sector to activate aggressive agricultural revolution and promote food security as a benchmark to revamping other sectors of the economy in the post-COVID-19 pandemic era. Also urge the executive arm to prioritize food production by promoting interest and aggressive farming through subsidized provision of fertilizers, agricultural implements and loans, as well as other incentives to encourage all persons to venture into food production. Encourage all Nigerians cutting across all walks of life, politicians, lawmakers, businessmen, civil and public servants, students and others to get involved in the Food for All campaign by starting up any form of agricultural activity to ensure that all hands are on deck. Again, urge the Federal Ministry of Agriculture to sensitize the populace on the viability of practicing all year round or all season farming while taking advantage of the vast fertile Nigerian soil to reconnect the supply chain that was caught by the pandemic. Call on the executive arm to improve its support to the agricultural sector through supply of improved seedlings and hybrid spices to stimulate bomber harvests. Also call on all other sectors to synergize efforts towards a humanized food for all campaign that will engender food sufficiency and safeguard against upsurge in crime and hunger. Further call on the Federal Ministry of Agriculture to urgently formulate a viable and structured food policy to ensure all ground food sufficiency for the country. Finally, to mandate the Committee on Agriculture, Production and Services, including banking and currency, to ensure compliance. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Simon, 1 second. Not Sam, Simon. Yeah.
Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues,
My name is Honorable Karu Simon Elisha, member representing Kaltungo Shongo Federal Constituency. I so second.
Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Can you get, I don't know what we agreed on was that we will be, this will be skeletal services for now until things cool down. I noticed that the gallery is packed. Now, the reason why my attention is there is directed to the gallery. And if you can, no, it doesn't matter whether they're journalists or not. If you can get your sergeant house to go there, you can see the cluster to my left. You can see that they're all banding together, not observing social. Now, if journalists cannot observe the protocol, then you close the gallery. Look to your left there. Can you please disperse and observe the protocol, please? Sergeant at Arms, please can you make sure that social distancing is observed in the gallery? Oh, sorry, Honorable Olajide, I'm just seeing your amendment. Sorry about that. Okay. The seventh order of the day is a motion calling on the Federal Ministry of Power or its agency to connect the host communities of Ogoroda Sapele Power Plant to the national grid. Standing in the name of Honorable Anthony Affair, Honorable Affair is invited to move the motion.
Mr. Speaker, fellow honorable members, where would I go now? Let me use campaign voice, sir. Mr. Speaker and fellow honorable members, I remain High Chief Ife Afe, member representing the people of Okpe, Sapele, and Uwe Federal Constituency of Delta State. Call on the Federal Ministry of Power or its agency to connect the host communities of Ogorodi, Sapele Power Plant to the national grid. The House notes that the primary responsibility of any government are to protect lives, properties, and take care of the welfare of all persons in the country, irrespective of location, tribe, religious, sex, etc. The House also notes that the Ogorodi Power Plant Station is said to be the second largest or biggest power plant in Nigeria by installation capacity of 1,020 megawatts when it was commissioned in 1981. But sadly, it is only producing less than 200 megawatts currently. The House is aware that the lengthy epileptic power supply being suffered by the people of Sapele and other host communities such as Amokwe, Ororope, Mosoga, Eku, Kokori, Okpara, Agbon, even Asaba, as far to the minority leaders' village, and ordered for the two power stations is being owed to the fact that they supply this to other parts of the country, thus leaving the host community to live in perpetual darkness. A scenario that is not only offensive to the people of Sapele local government and Delta states and the host communities. Also aware that the growing mass action being fueled by the legal power Black Art tends a major disaster awaiting to happen as the hopeless state of the people has hardened their determination to shut down supply power station anytime unless the federal government pays immediate attention to the flight by constructing a step-down transformer that will supply electricity to the communities concerned. Certain that supply power station, which supplies about 25% of the country, its generating capacity, of which goes into the national grid, is the only location in the entire country where the power generator is not being stepped down for use by the communities, like in other locations like Jeba, Keji, Shiroro, Ugeli, Afam, which enjoy a step-down facility for the host community. Worried that the atmosphere of near-total darkness on a daily basis is affecting the socio-economic development of the area, resulting in colossal collapse of the once prestigious African timbers and plywood, AT&P, which happens to be the second largest in the world. Flour mills and other famous institutions that has made supply tick, even the supply of Gogoro, taking thereby making it a case of proverbial people who lived in the riverbank, yet they wash their hands with spite. Concerned that connecting the supply power to the power national grid will, among other things, provide constant power supply to the host community, will also boost socio-economic activities and create a harmonious, peaceful coexistence between the communities and the management of the power station. The House resolved. All the Federal Ministry of Power and the agents responsible to set up machinery in motion to commence the building of supply station step down to supply electricity to the host community. I beg to move.
Honorable Zakaria.
Your Excellency, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Zakaria Douda Nyampa, member representing Madagali Michika Federal Constituency. I'm from Adamawa State. I stand to second the motion ably moved by my colleague for the need to connect his constituency and other areas. I so second.
Okay, this is a utility motion, so I'll just put the question. Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Clerk. Sorry, are these the reporters? Don't you think they're too close to each other? Is that social distancing? So can we please try as best as possible? Moving forward, just please separate yourselves. If you have to add another table, add another table. It's for your own good and for the good of everybody here. Please. The eighth order of the day is a motion on urgent need to speed up local production of... Okay, is this not similar to your motion, Honorable Toby? Anyway, the eighth order of the day is a motion on urgent need to speed up local production of vaccines in Nigeria. Standing in the name of Honorable Chike John Okafor, Honorable Okafor is invited to move the motion. Is this the same motion we moved earlier today? Yours was on research. Same thing. Honorable Okafor, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Were you here for Honorable Toby's motion? Separate? It's different. Okay, go ahead.
My name is Honorable Chike John Okafor. I represent the good people of Ehimembano, Yitu Boma, Obo Federal Constituency. I am from Imo State. Mr. Speaker, urgent need to speed up local production of vaccines in Nigeria. The House notes that the Yaba Vaccine Production Laboratory, Lagos, was active in vaccine production for about 6 decades between 1940 and 1991, producing large quantities of vaccines against smallpox, rabies, and yellow fever for not only Nigeria, but also for neighboring countries like Cameroon and other African countries. Also notes that the Yaba Vaccine Production Laboratory was closed down by the federal government in 1991 in order to upgrade the facility for optimal production, but the facility has remained under lock and key till date. Aware of the need to produce vaccine locally to address the ravaging COVID-19 pandemic and other diseases. Also aware that in 2017, the federal government signed a partnership agreement with May and Baker Nigeria PLC to float a company named BioVaccine Limited for the commencement of local vaccine production in Nigeria. However, the company is yet to commence the production of those life-saving vaccines. Further aware that presently African countries like South Africa, Tunisia, Ethiopia, Madagascar, Senegal have functional laboratories for production and export of vaccines for use and export. Cognizance of the need for Nigeria to speed up the commencement of local vaccine production for domestic use and export, especially now that the world is faced with ravaging coronavirus, COVID-19, and other terminal diseases. Worried that Nigeria spends over 4 billion naira annually on importation of vaccines, an amount which, if vaccines are locally produced, will reduce the volume of money spent on importation, local delivery, insurance, and handling charges. Again, aware that the partnership agreement between the federal government and the May and Baker Nigeria PLC, if implemented, will improve technical capacities and capabilities of Nigerian scientists and engineers and the value chain in Nigeria's pharmaceutical sector, and also expose them to technological advancements involved in vaccine production. Also cognizant that a successful production of local vaccines will help the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, and the Federal Ministry of Health to effectively tackle outbreaks, such as the recent outbreaks of gastroenteritis in Lagos, which claimed lives, and the current ravaging COVID-19. Again, cognizant that local vaccine production will not only save Nigeria billions of naira from vaccine importation, but will also go a long way in guaranteeing availability of vaccines during routine immunization, as well as the exports to other African countries, thereby cutting down the cost of vaccines in Nigeria. The House is advised to resolve to mandate the committees on health services, health institutions, and AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria to invite the Minister, Federal Minister of Health, the Executive Director, CEO of National Primary Health Care Development Agency, the Director General of Nigeria Center for Disease Control, and the Executive Director, May and Baker Nigeria PLC, to brief the committees and deliberate on possible ways of getting the needed legislative support to fast-track the production of vaccines in Nigeria and report back within 4 weeks for further legislative action. Mr. Speaker, colleagues, I so move.
Honorable Fake, can you help us second?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. My name is Femi Fake. I stand to support the motion as moved by my colleague. Thank you, Speaker.
Those in support, please say aye. Amendment, Honorable Ogene.
The amendment is to add to the prayers that the Yaba vaccine, Mr. Speaker, thank you for allowing me to do the amendment. My name is Honorable Ogene Ego.
You are standing behind the wrong person. She hasn't been into the house since we started sitting. This is her first time coming because she's very, 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 very concerned, and you are not standing behind her and talking without your mask. Go ahead.
To add to the prayers that the Yaba vaccine production laboratory that was closed down
to enable them expand it, that the Honorable Minister should be invited and informed to complete that vaccine so that it can be in production.
If you don't want to second, Honorable Kiruka will second. No, you've moved your amendment. You've moved your amendment. It's okay. Honorable Linda, do you want to amend, or do we get Honorable Kiruka to amend? Which one do you want to do? I mean, to second.
Well, this amendment is beautiful, but it's not actionable. Because to start with, Mr. Speaker, the CBN.
We are not seconding. Yes. Are you seconding? So, seconded by Honorable Linda. You are not seconding. Honorable Kiruka, are you seconding? Honorable Kiruka. Motion amendment moved by Honorable Gene, seconded by Honorable Linda, Honorable Kiruka. Those in support of the amendment, please say aye. The amendment moved, seconded by Honorable Linda, Honorable Kiruka. Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay.
I come under, my point of order is based on the fact that the Speaker's ruling is unconventional. We don't have two people seconding motions, so it should not be subject.
Read your rule about secondment.
I will expect the Speaker to counsel himself with the rules.
The rule on point of order in the first place is that when you rise to make a point of order, you point to the point to. So point to your point of order first.
My point of order is a matter of practice and convention by the House, but you don't have two persons seconding any motion.
Which order is that?
Under practice and conventions of the House.
So it is the practice and convention of the House that a motion is seconded.
That the motion is seconded by one person, not two persons.
So, to the rule that says gives you the number of people that can second the motion. It talks about second. Let me know whether it talks about the number.
Mr. Speaker can also direct me to the one that says it must be two persons.
You are aware who is the chairman, business and rules, custodian of the rules of this house? You are ruled out of order. You want enlightenment? I think we're having a good time. Everybody is a little bit relaxed. What is your enlightenment? Is there a provision for enlightenment? COVID is a real problem. We're just, what is What? Point to your order. Enlightenment order.
Mr. Speaker, I think we need to expand our knowledge. A consistent ruling of Mr. Speaker becomes a law. A consistent ruling of Mr. Speaker becomes a tradition. A consistent ruling of Mr. Speaker by the following speakers also becomes a tradition and convention of the House. And it makes it a rule. And it can be cited. And it can be cited. So the Honorable Deputy Minority Leader that have cited the consistent ruling of I'm trying to suffocate. Mr. Speaker, you know this, that a consistent ruling of the previous and the current speaker on particular issues becomes a tradition and becomes a norm and becomes a convention. And to that extent, Mr. Speaker, he can be cited. He can be cited as one of those points of order. So I'm aligning with the Deputy Minority Leader on his suggestions.
The key word you used was consistent. That rulings are not a carryover. That is why we have standing orders from house to house. What does the front cover of your standing order say? Read it. Read your standing order, this place. What edition does it say? Edition, not carryover. You are ruled out of order. So, we've had enough fun. Let's move on. Honorable Linda, you see what you have caused now. I don't even know where we are. Are we putting the question? Okay, did we carry the amendment? Okay, we haven't ruled on the amendment because we put the question twice because it was a little bit confusing which way it went. So we'll give you the third. Honorable, those in support of Honorable Ogene's amendment are seconded by either Honorable Linda or Honorable Ekiruka. Please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. There's no way you can have two women seconding an amendment and you say no. Right, Honorable Linda? There's no way you can have two women, two consenting women amendment and then you say no. Huh?
Mr. Speaker, you're correct.
Agrees with you. Thank you. Is a motion on need. Support of the motion as amended, say aye. Those against, say nay. Ayes have it.